What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? Welcome into another episode of DLF's Drafting Lessons, the DLF YouTube show where I grab a guest every week and we run through a Dynasty startup or Dynasty rookie mock draft. So today is actually going to be the last rookie mock draft video that I do for at least this season. I was going through trying to hit every single pick from 101 to the 112. So today is going to be the final of those 6 videos. We're going to be doing 2 SUPERFLEX rookie mock drafts out of the 106 position and the 112 position. And today's guest is positive enforcer and positive influencer on Twitter. He's a fantastic podcaster and YouTube host as well too. JMic. Jay, how's it going, man?
Bro, I'm living somebody's dream right now. I don't know whose. But I'm doing really well. I'm happy to be here with you and happy to close out this series that you have to be able to have some fun with what we're about to handle today. So thank you again for having me. Let's get into it. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's get into it. I realize that we're like starting to hit, we're in the kind of the beginning of June, so not a lot of people have a bunch of rookie drafts, but I'm kind of OCD and I just wanted to get this thing done. And and some people still have rookie drafts going on. My home league hasn't done one yet because we like to do it in person. So like with all like the COVID stuff, it's been challenging this year because usually we do it like right after the draft. So mine is still waiting, and I know there's other people out there who's probably waiting as well too. So
no doubt. And I got a couple myself, so it's at least 2 of us, if nobody else. But like you said, at least now we have more information. We've been able to digest more things, try to be able to help us along, and hopefully gain a little bit of an edge from what we would have had if we drafted back at the beginning of May. So yeah, this is still a good time to be drafting, and obviously with this big long gap that we're going to have between actual football activities and whatnot, this is still a good way to stretch out the off season.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. As I said, it's going to be a SUPERFLEX. We're just going to assume PPR, all that stuff. There's no like premiums or anything on that other than just SUPERFLEX. So the first one's going to be out of the 106 spot. The second one's going to be out of the 112. And we're just going to get right into it here. Alrighty, JMic, we're on the clock, 1.06. The first 5 picks went Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, Tua Tagovailoa, and then J.K. Dobbins at the 105. So at the 1.06 here, we have basically our pick of any of the wide receivers, Justin Herbert at quarterback, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, wherever you really want to go here, we can go. So what are we looking at here?
Feels like it comes down to a pretty easy decision for me. However, a lot of folks will tell you, hey, this is the time where you get the option to choose between one of the top running backs that are left, and obviously the top wide receiver as well with how the board's shaking out. Pre-draft, I had DeAndre Swift as the top talent, if you will, just in terms of what he's able to do on the field, things that he did. And at this point, I still have him ahead of both Akers and Lamb. So at this point, give me DeAndre Swift, even if he's not gangbusters for the Lions. Come this 2020 season, I do see him obviously getting passing work and being someone to be able to at least share half of the backfield work with Kerryon, as well as passing down work, because I think that that's the calling card for him. Excited to be able to get him there at 106.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm in on that. And this is actually, I think this is the first time that somebody's taken DeAndre Swift in this whole entire series post-draft. So this is awesome. I'm glad we have the opportunity to talk about him here, because I posted a YouTube video just kind of like laying out like what to expect kind of from him and his projection with the Lions, because, like a lot of people had him, if not as their RB1 pre-draft, at least their RB2 behind Jonathan Taylor, so to see him fall to outside the top 3 and maybe even behind Cam Akers for some people just because of landing spot is something that was really interesting to me. And I mean, I had the same reaction as well too. Draft night, I'm like, man, Detroit Lions, like they don't do anything. Their running backs they've been horrible and stuff like that. But even when you go just look at some recent history, when you don't have to go back as far as Reggie Bush to get another, a good fantasy running back. He was top 10 for one season with Matthew Stafford, with Calvin Johnson. I think about all the talent that team had. It was just wasted talent. It was really sad. But if DeAndre Swift can come in and do that kind of thing, and I think he can, I think he is the best running back the Lions have had since Reggie Bush, then I think that he's going to be a fantastic value as the fourth or fifth running back off the board for people who are snagging him that late.
Exactly. And even if Kerryon does not get hurt and does fulfill some of the promise that he's had the first couple of seasons, we're still seeing a team that decided to place a second round pick into this backfield to be able to shore up whatever they want for the production there. So hopefully Kerryon stays healthy and hopefully Kerryon eats too. But we're looking at this point, we're looking at a tandem. We're looking at a group of guys. And again, if for whatever reason Kerryon seeds anything from a rushing standpoint, then you can also forget about the passing game, because Swift is, I think, and I like a lot of what Kerryon does. So please don't mishear me, people. But with the fact that DeAndre Swift is incredibly dynamic out of the backfield, specifically in the passing game, and he's going to be a difference maker there, not just someone who can catch passes. So if he's going to be getting that work, if it's going to be a case where Kerryon takes any kind of step back or seeds any kind of work to Swift, it's wheels up. And I'm so excited to be able to take him at 106 because he's a real difference maker and a guy that I think can have that prolonged value on your team with the fact that pass catching is in his toolbox.
Yeah, and I think the pass catching is something that a lot of people kind of overlook, because when you look at, I just pulled up the Lions depth chart from Our Lads. It's Kerryon Johnson, DeAndre Swift, Bo Scarborough, and then Ty Johnson is the RB4 on that depth chart. They don't have J.D. McKissick anymore. And we know that Matthew Stafford loves to throw the ball to the running back position. And with how much that team is likely going to throw anyway, I don't envision a world where DeAndre Swift gets less than 50 targets at least in year one, so that PPR value is going to be so, incredibly valuable for your fantasy teams, that if he comes in and just like off the bat is James White and then gets the rushing upside to it, I think it's a smash opportunity for him to be one of the best rookie running backs this season if he gets that work. I love it. I love it. So we're on the clock here, 2.06. The rest of the first round went Jerry Jeudy, Justin Herbert, CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs, Cam Akers, and then Jalen Hurts slid in here at the 112. And then Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, Jordan Love, T. Higgins, and Keyshawn Vaughn were the first 5 picks in the second round. So at the 2.06 here, this is kind of wide receiver city: Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims, Laviska Shenault, Brandon Ayuk, Brian Edwards, and then also Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson at the running back position, Claypool, Darrington Evans, Anthony McFarland, KJ Hamler, a bunch of guys like that. But who are we looking to pair with DeAndre Swift here?
This is such a fun place in the draft. And at 206, man, this is a juicy place. My personal pick here is going to be Denzel Mims. I'm a huge Denzel Mims fan. What he was able to put on tape at Baylor, particularly at the catch point. And one of the announcers you'll hear, they call him Old Sticky Paws. So that's been our running joke all this offseason. Old Sticky Paws himself, Mr. Denzel Mims, being what I perceive to be the top target for Sam Darnold in an offense that does have a slower pace, which we're not excited about that. However, we've been craving for Sam Darnold to have a go-to wide receiver for 3 years now? This will be his coming up third year for that. So I like Denzel Mims. I like what he's able to do at the catch point. I like the fact that he's able to get open, and I love the fact that he's able to make tough catches. If Adam Gase just doesn't ruin everything that he ever touches, the anti-Midas touch, then I really feel good about Denzel Mims being able to get a guy who next season is likely going to be worth a first-round pick in many drafts and many rookie drafts, and you're getting him here in the middle of the second. This is such a smash for me. I love it. Absolutely love it.
So again, I'm so glad that I decided to do this last series, and I'm so glad that I decided to do it with you, because this is another player that I haven't talked about basically at all. So you just took two players that is going to be, new conversation for me and everybody listening to, and Swift and then Denzel Mims. And I have been really back and forth on Denzel Mims, just, in terms of like what you said is going to be, he's basically slotting in as the wide receiver 1 for the Jets, right? I mean, Jamison Crowder's also there as well too. But they let go of Robbie Anderson. They replaced him with Brashad Perriman, who, we have years of data that shows that he's not that good. We have like 5 games last year that shows that he can be really good. He's kind of an enigma in and of himself. And then, Denzel Mims comes in here after sliding really far down in the second round as, outside. I don't even know if he was in the top 10 in terms of wide receivers taken. I can't remember. But, basically sliding in as the wide receiver 1. But then, like you said, this is an Adam Gase, led offense, led team, and that's not encouraging at all. But there's also that part of me that's like, man, Adam Gase could be fired halfway through the year if the Jets aren't doing anything, so that could be wheels up for Sam Darnold, wheels up for Denzel Mims. And it's, I really don't know what to do with him. And I think it's interesting that you took Mims over Pittman and Ayuk and Laviska, who are all 3 guys who I think are in the same tier that are also very interesting to me. Pittman specifically, because he's gotten a lot of hype as like a top of the second round player. And so what's the difference for you between Denzel Mims as the wide receiver 1, presumably for the Jets, versus Michael Pittman, who looks like he's sliding in as the wide receiver 2 for the Colts with Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, and that's totally fair, because you're looking at the 2 situations. You're showing yourself Indianapolis being a functional organization, being a team that makes good decisions, and you think obviously with Phillip Rivers coming in, you've got competent play to go with very good coaching, versus what we've got in Mims, which is obviously he's a good player, but we haven't seen consistency from Darnold, and we haven't seen anything again from Gase aside from what he did with Peyton Manning, obviously one of the, if not the most prolific quarterback in the game. So with Mims, what I go back to is the fact that as a player, skill-wise, with what I was able to see on tape and a lot of his metrics in terms of breakout age, things of that nature, Denzel Mims is an absolute monster. Denzel Mims, the player, is someone who, regardless of circumstance, regardless of what's going on around him, I think that he's going to be one of the more talented, if not the most talented player to garner what I think will be the most in terms of target share on a team, no matter who the coach is. So if it is a case where Gase gets 1 more year and then he's gone, okay, we're obviously looking at ideally an uptick in some sort of situation for him going into next year, along with Sam Darnold, an up and coming quarterback too. Pittman, I like Pittman. I think he's a good player, and I feel like a lot of people like Pittman, but I thought Mims was a superior prospect pretty much all the way throughout the process. He's the last wide receiver taken in the second round. And then with it being the Jets, like nobody really wants to touch the Jets. I'll be the brave one. I'll take this upside swing, because if Mims hits, it's not going to be a case where you're going to be wondering, oh, can he sustain it? Is he going to be some? No, if he hits, and it's going to be huge, and it's not going to be a question behind how he did it or what happened. It was the fact that he was really stinking good all through college, and he's going to be really stinking good for his professional team as well. So Pittman's fun. He's a good player. I don't like him better than Mims, and I don't know what his target share is going to look like in that offense as it stands with all the pieces that they have out the gate too. With how they want to leverage their team, and the fact that they just took Jonathan Taylor. So if we're talking about from a volume perspective, I still think Mims is the guy that you want out of that group. That's a really interesting group of players, though.
Yeah. The entire second round. I mean, you can extend it out to like T. Higgins as well too, and even Justin Jefferson, depending on where you have him. I feel like he's kind of, Jefferson's the guy that's kind of bridging the gap between, in my opinion, Rager, Lamb, and Judy, and then the second or the third tier down here, Higgins and Pittman and Mims and all of them that moves down there. So I mean, I think you explained it very well on Denzel Mims, and he wasn't a guy that I even knew existed before the combine. But I don't watch college football, so I'm not like that.
I feel like that's when a lot of people came to the party with Mims, so don't feel bad at all.
Right. So interesting pick there. I like it. I like it a lot. You're swinging for the fences here if he does hit, and it's going to be fantastic, like you said, if and when he does. So on the clock, 3.06 here again. Pittman, Ayuk, Laviska, and then Zach Moss, Anthony McFarland, and Brian Edwards rounded out the second round. And then we went KJ Hamler, Antonio Gibson, AJ Dillon, Antonio Gandy Golden, and Joshua Kelly for the first 5 picks in the third. So at 3.06, the guys available right now are Chase Claypool, Darrington Evans, Devin Duvernay, Van Jefferson, Cole Kmet as the top tight end, Tyler Johnson, Lynn Bowden Jr., Adam Troutman, Benjamin, Jacob Eason or Jake Fromm for the quarterbacks, Asiasi, DJ Dallas, Michael Pirine, a whole bunch of these guys here. So 3.06 here. What are we looking at going for here, JMic?
Feels like this was a really interesting place for someone like DJ Dallas when he was slated to get work prior to, what was it, the Carlos Hyde signing in Seattle. So I feel like you could have been excited about DJ Dallas about a few weeks back. And at this point, I'm not as excited because if they're signing Carlos Hyde, I don't know how much DJ is going to see the field in year one, which pivots me. And I probably would have taken this player over Dallas in the first place, but it's Darrynton Evans. Darrynton Evans here at 306. Again, this is me swinging for the fences in the third round, feeling really good about this. Derrick Henry last season, we saw him obviously set the league on fire, rush for over 1,500 yards. We saw him, I think he got over 300 carries as well, which was just an absolutely monster workload, awesome season. Everything came together for him. Now, the good news is Derrick Henry's back for that team, and he's going to be someone on this 1-year contract to still likely get a ton of work. However, with the fact that the Titans took Darrynton Evans in, I believe it was the third round. Third round. They took him at the end of the third round, pick number 93 overall. They're obviously with the day 2 capital. I'm really excited about that. But Darrynton Evans is someone who's got game-breaking ability as well. So if you get him out in space, if you allow him to be able to leverage his speed, he's someone who can, just like Derrick Henry, just catch ghost and show everybody taillights. And I don't know that they really want to give Derrick Henry the ball 300 more times. Maybe they do. Maybe it's what they want to lean on to be able to hopefully get them back to the playoffs for a second year in a row. However, if they want Derrick Henry, if what we know about running backs to be true, then obviously this 300 touch marker here isn't the greatest sign in terms of what we're expecting to see from him in the following season. So Darrynton Evans with an opportunity not only to give us something in the passing game for this year, but also for whatever reason, if they don't bring Derrick Henry back next year, even if they do draft someone else, you're looking at the incumbent in Darrynton Evans being someone who can come in, likely see a ton of work, and you see a value spike, and you can choose what you want to do with that value spike from there in the following season. So Darrynton Evans feels like a smash pick for me at 306.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the last thing that you hit on there is the fact that, Evans could potentially come in as the RB1 for the Titans next year should they not re-sign Derrick Henry. And I think that is one of the biggest, things that draws me towards him, especially whenever you get him in like the third round, right? You could sit and just have him sit on the back of your bench and your roster, and maybe Derrick Henry gets hurt this year. God forbid that he actually does, but that stuff happens to running backs, and you need to have all the backup running backs, that as many as you can, to account for that. And if that were to happen, Darrynton Evans slides right in and potentially sees a massive workload that maybe not equivalent to what Derrick Henry was getting, but at least enough to be probably a starter on your dynasty roster, right? For however long Derrick Henry's out. So that's value in and of itself right there. But then also the possibility that they don't re-sign Derrick Henry at the end of the year this year because he's playing on that tag. And now, like you said, the value spike for 2021 would be huge. And I'm interested. Let's say that does play out, that Derrick Henry re-signs or doesn't get re-signed and he signs elsewhere in March, during free agency and whatnot. And we have that time period of will they, won't they, before the NFL draft next year, of will they draft a running back or not, or when will they draft a running back? Would you sell Darrynton Evans there during that little time period, or would you hold on and attempt to see that the Titans actually go through the draft without adding in a ETN or Chuba Hubbard or whoever these other 2021 guys would be?
It would be so tempting to keep Darrynton Evans. So tempting if everything falls into place like that. However, if you're walking up to me, Addison, and you say, JMic, listen, I've got this 2021 first round pick for you, bro. Just give me Darrynton Evans and we can call it a day. Sign me up, smash it. You won't have to talk no more. I'm taking that first round pick for Darrynton Evans. I'll be happy to sell him. And at that point, you talk about just the absolute value boom that you got from taking a guy in the middle of the third for a team. If you're looking at 306, being you are on the verge of being a playoff team, almost, not quite, but you just flip an asset that you took in the third to be able to get a first round pick of some sort. I am all in on that. So yeah, I'm likely flipping him. I like Darrington Evans. I think he's a pretty good player, but I also think that he's not good enough to not be drafted over or have them do something like bringing in a Melvin Gordon like Denver did, or Todd Gurley like Atlanta did. And make no mistake about it, as much as I like Darrington Evans, I'm not necessarily looking at getting all of the value from his actual play this season. But when you look at it, if he's likely going to be this guy that's spelling Derrick Henry. And if you look at their depth chart behind him, like you were talking about earlier, it's a bunch of people that you've likely never heard of. Deion Lewis isn't there anymore. And it's a bunch of dudes, Kari Blasingame, Cameron Scarlett, Sonoris Fury. Like, what are we talking about right here? So wheels up for Darrington in a lot of instances. I'm excited to have him on my teams.
Yeah, good. Yeah, the ROI there would be fantastic if you can, flip him for a first. It would be really interesting, the Dynasty community, to see what would happen with Darrington Evans if all that actually plays out in the way a lot of people hope it actually would for Darrington Evans. Where a lot of people's cutoff would be in terms of keeping him versus selling him. If it's like a mid-second, an early second, I would say definitely a first. You're selling him no matter what.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, that would be we can't really talk about that right now, but should that happen next year, that'd be a really interesting conversation, I think.
We've got to earmark this episode and come back to this if everything lines up as it should, and just post this everywhere. Just be super excited about it.
Yes. All righty. So last pick here, 4.06 in this first rookie mock here. The rest of the third went Claypool, Cole Kmet, Lynn Bowden, Van Jefferson, Devin Duvernay, and Jason Huntley. I don't know who that is, and I don't think I've ever seen him drafted before, but that's where we're at right now. Then Adam Troutman, LaMichael Pirine, Eno Benjamin, Tyler Johnson, and Dalton Keene. So at the 4.06 last pick here, we got still Jacob Eason and Jake Fromm at quarterbacks. DJ Dallas is still there as well, too. The other New England tight end, Devin Asiasi, and Albert O, Gabriel Davis, Quintez Cephas, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Harrison Bryant, Bryson Hopkins, some more quarterbacks, wide receivers, Colin Johnson, KJ Hill, James Prochet, Isaiah Hodgins. There's a lot of Michael Warren there, undrafted free agent. There's a lot of areas that we could go here. Fourth round kind of dart throw here. What are we looking at to finalize this draft out here?
Yeah, really upset about the fact that Tyler Johnson went 2 picks prior. would have liked to have seen Tyler Johnson. This is a place where I'd be tempted to take someone like Jacob Eason. And I'd be tempted even, and we were talking about DJ Dallas a round ago, and he's still kind of hanging out here, which I feel like, again, you have a nice, interesting opportunity because he's going to be healthy in Seattle. And Pete Carroll's going to give whomever is going to be showing out the actual opportunity, no matter where they were picked. However, for me, this is simply a play on someone that I like a lot. And also seeing that Marvin Jones is an unrestricted free agent. Give me Quintez Cephas. I like the player a lot. I think he's a good player, even though he didn't perform very well at the combine. He is someone who was productive at Wisconsin. And we also saw him. I remember watching him in the bowl game versus, I believe it was Oregon, and him just doing people dirty. I like his game. He's tough. And I can't remember which corner it was. It might have been Okuda who got the interview at the combine, and they asked, hey, who was the toughest your toughest cover this past season throughout your time at Ohio State? And he said that Quintez Cephas, without question, was his toughest cover at Wisconsin, which was really interesting for me as well. So Quintez Cephas, again, this is a super home run cut. This is in the 5th round, so I'm not expecting the world of him. But again, you talk about air and opportunity with Marvin Jones being an unrestricted free agent, pairing him with a guy like Matt Stafford at quarterback. I like the pairing. I like the fit.
Yeah. Cephas is a guy that I've been listening to a whole bunch of podcasts because of my new job. And Brian Haar of the Trade Addicts and Superflex show has been smashing Quintez Cephas, he said, in like every single draft that he's had that opportunity to, in like the 4th round or even like late 3rd, just because he's a guy that he loves. And I think Cephas is definitely a very interesting home run hit. And I think, honestly, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like I would almost rather take a shot on him than Tyler Johnson. I don't know how you feel about that.
I liked Tyler Johnson's tape more. The NFL told us they didn't love Tyler Johnson as much as the Dynasty community has.
Mhm.
Aaron Opportunity says that it falls in Cephas's direction. I don't know that Tyler Johnson ever cracks top 3 in Tampa Bay. I think that's the questionable part. Is he going to ever be ahead of your boy there in Happy Valley, Chris Godwin? Probably not. Is he going to be ahead of Mike Evans? Likely not. But I just like Tyler Johnson, the player, more. But Quintez is still really good too. So I couldn't be mad at that at all.
Yeah. I think it's interesting whenever you start just taking shots on guys like that, like Cephas or like Tyler Johnson. I even think Van Jefferson you can throw in that category as well too. I know a lot of people really like him, but I feel like he's more of a dart throw than a home run hitter in terms of seeing the field immediately. That's just how I feel personally. So, but I mean, when you get down to this point, it's all about who has that opportunity. And like you said, if Tyler Johnson's not going to have, that opportunity, at least, out the gate, or maybe even for a few years. I mean, I could see a world where he is on the outside and Mike Evans is on the outside with Godwin in the slot as well too. But then I can also see a world where he's just never on the field.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I like Cephas a lot. I like that pick a whole lot. And like you said, with Marvin Jones' situation and all that, it's there's definitely a very good possibility that he ends up being in a pretty valuable spot on a very pass-heavy offense. So I like it a lot. I'm about that. So we're moving in right now into the second draft. This is going to be out of the 112 spot. So this is going to be really fun because it's an entirely different set of players that we're going to be talking about here. So the first 11 picks went Burrow, then Tua. DeAndre Swift went at RB1. Wow. Jonathan Taylor, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Justin Herbert, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and then Jalen Hurts at the 111. So 112, we're looking at basically all of these wide receivers again: Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson, Henry Ruggs, and then all the second-round guys: Higgins, Pittman, Mims. Keyshawn Vaughn is there as well too at running back, as is all the running backs that were there with our 206 pick in the first draft. So 112, what are we looking to start this draft off here?
I was confident I would not be able to put my fanboy cape on for my man's here, but he's still able to be picked here. I'm a big Justin Jefferson fan. I have Justin Jefferson as my wide receiver too, and wow. You talk about someone who can do everything, can literally come into the league and probably been the best slot wide receiver for at least 20 NFL teams. Great hands, game-breaking speed, someone who's going to be taller and longer than you think, very good at the catch point. All the things that you want out of a slot receiver. Justin Jefferson has those things. He showed the ability. Obviously, he's a super young prospect. He showed the ability last season before everything went bonkers in LSU to be able to actually have a great deal of market share in that offense. So I know that he's a good player. He showed that for 2 seasons. He's been absolutely fantastic. And I cannot argue anyone if they want to take Jalen Reagor here. I like Jalen Reagor as well. I have all those guys right there: CD, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, all right there in the same little mix. CD would be the first one coming off for me, but Justin Jefferson is my number 2, and that's I'm really happy if I'm 112 and I'm a championship team to get Justin Jefferson, because I know that he likely has a floor that is as high as anyone that you can take from this group. So I'm excited to be able to get him here.
I'm really happy that you didn't take Jalen Reagor, because I think that would have been Jalen Reagor, I think, has been the pick in the second draft in the first round for every single person at like post draft. Like I'm not kidding. Like he's somehow been there at 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 in all of those drafts somehow. And they're just like, well, I'm taking Jalen Reagor. So it's interesting. And I think it's really good that you took Justin Jefferson here over Jalen Reagor, because you had that opportunity. And Jefferson Reagor was an interesting debate that I had with a lot of people while doing this pre-draft, because we didn't know landing spots, and a lot of people were presuming that Justin Jefferson was going to be the Eagles pick, and it turned out that was actually going to be Jalen Reagor, and then Jefferson goes 1 pick later to the Minnesota Vikings. And Jefferson was a guy that I was really high on as well too, coming into the NFL draft, because like you said, I mean, 2018, he had I don't remember the exact number, 30 to 31% market share in 2018, and then in 2019 with Jamar Chase. And even though LSU exploited with Joe Burrow, as we all know, he still commanded, it was 29 or 30%. It was a 1% fewer market share than what he did in 2018. So, and that was with Biletnikoff winner Jamar Chase on the opposite side as well too. So like, dude is good. He's commanding targets. And so going to Minnesota, he's going to be opposite of Adam Thielen. It's not a super pass heavy offense, but we saw what, Stephon Diggs can do across from Adam Thielen as well too. And I think it's going to be a very prime opportunity for Justin Jefferson to succeed in that offense with a very good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. A lot of people want to, downplay how good he actually is, but he's very accurate. He's very good. He's not going to turn the ball over. It's almost like he has Joe Burrow kind of again, and with Jamar Chase and everything like that in Adam Thielen too. So I'm excited, and I'm glad that you took him over Jalen Reagor just for the fact that it wasn't another Jalen Reagor conversation. Even though I would have taken Jalen Reagor personally, I'm glad that you didn't, and we could have this conversation here to take Jefferson. So you had him as your wide receiver 2 right now.
Yes.
Who's your wide receiver 1? Is it Lamb or Judy?
It's Lamb. Yeah, it's Lamb. I think Lamb is, Lamb's what he does after the catch is absolutely absurd on so many levels. And even though he's landing as a wide receiver 3 on depth chart for Dallas, I love the situation that he fell into, and I love the fact that he's with Dak and with McCarthy and pass happy. All those things are showing up roses for him. And if for whatever reason they ever want to get out from under Amari Cooper, or if they're doing anything with Gallup, Lamb's primed to be able to take a piece of his immediately. I love Lamb's game.
Sweet. Yeah. And then where did you have Jefferson before the draft?
Jefferson was my 2 period. Yeah. So, and it's funny, you were talking earlier about like you like Justin Jefferson, and you were talking through that. I remember listening to several podcasts that would, prior to the combine, people would have Justin Jefferson outside of their first 2 rounds of rookie mocks. Like there were a lot of people who weren't thrilled about Jefferson prior to what felt like a meteoric rise since the combine, but ever since our tape work that I've been able to help with over with the Dynasty Dummies, he's been my number 2 throughout the process. It was always CD and Justin, and then the landing spots didn't change a thing for me at all. Awesome.
So I really like that confidence in him. I'm glad that nothing changed for you pre and post draft for Justin Jefferson. That's awesome. So moving on here, 212. We're on the clock here. The second round went Henry Ruggs, and then Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims, Keyshawn Vaughn, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, Laviska, Zach Moss, Brandon Ayuk, Brian Edwards, and then A.J. Dillon. I think that's a pretty stereotypical second round there for you. And then so at the 212 here, the final pick of the second round, the guys available are Antonio Gibson, Chase Claypool, Darrington Evans as well, Anthony McFarland, KJ Hamler, Joshua Kelly, Devin Duvernay, Van Jefferson, Cole Kmet, a bunch of these guys, Lynn Bowden down here as well too. So 212, who are we looking to pair with Justin Jefferson?
This is really interesting. I'd be tempted to go Darrington again here. However, I'm going to go with one of Washington's 30 running backs that they have. And I'm going to go Antonio Gibson. I thought his film was fantastic, even though he didn't show a ton of things or a ton at running back from an opportunity standpoint. I think that he's an interesting chess piece, and he's very good with the ball in his hands as well. Can he, a lot of questions obviously surrounding that pick. Can he ascend the depth chart? Can he be someone who's going to be counted on and not just be a gimmick player to be thrown out as a wide receiver in the backfield, be moved all over the place, but not really leveraged? And the fact that it's Ron Rivera's offense, or I think it's North Turner's son is going to be the coordinator there now. And I don't know, and I'm not confident how they're going to be using him. I like the player. I like the fact that he got fantastic capital in terms of going literally at the beginning of the second pick, I believe, of the third round. So right there at the midpoint of day 2. I like all those things. All those things work for him. But the fact that he landed in Washington, and again, they have a billion running backs there with the fact that it's Geis. Peterson might be back. They, like you were talking about earlier, they with McKissick. McKissick's there now. We're looking at Peyton Barber being signed there. Bryce Love. Like there's so many guys there. and they still took Gibson. So I'm curious what their role is for him. But I like the player, even though the spot is really weird right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't put much into Rivera saying that they have their Christian McCaffrey in Antonio Gibson. I think that's a little too much coach speak for me there. But
no question.
But Gibson is an interesting conversation in terms of what he's going to bring to Washington. But then also the fact that, and I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. I mean, Gibson, when you look at his college stats, he had 44 receptions and 33 rush attempts. That was it. That was all the work that he got. And so I'm curious as to, a guy that good and that skilled, why did he not get the ball more? Like I see the tape and I see, the highlight pieces of him, taking these, rushing and screen passes, taking them to the house, just dropping players with jukes and all that stuff. And he looks really good, but why did he just not get any more work at Memphis?
Yeah. And it even scares you when you look at the fact that it was Darrell Henderson, who was the star a season ago, prior to the last rookie cycle, and he showed out and showed off and everything else, and obviously comes to the Rams and is not able to get on the field. So you're like, wait a second, this guy who had barely any touches in his entire time in college, why am I supposed to get on the bandwagon for him? And again, aside from his draft capital and again the limited sample size that we see from a tape perspective, you're probably not going to feel great about making this pick. However, again, I'm going to lean on the capital. I'm going to lean on the fact that what he did flash was really special, and he's got the ability in an offense that is to some degree devoid of passing weapons, aside from McLaurin, who showed out last season. What are we looking at tight end? Undrafted Thaddeus Moss, right? Jordan, I think they kicked Jordan Reed to the curb. Other wide receivers you're not super excited about. I really like Kelvin Harmon coming out last year, but he didn't assert himself. They got Antonio Gandy Golden, again, rookie. I think there's a role to be had for him. Not sure what it looks like. And again, you're not making this pick with a ton of confidence, and this is a supreme home run cut with the ability to pay off big for you if he hits.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too, just looking at Memphis's like running back history.
Yes.
Because they have a guy right now who also showed out really hard last year. Wasn't he a freshman?
Gainwell, yeah, Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, that he looked really good. Gibson, obviously, and then you said about Darrell Henderson, and then Tony Pollard as well too.
Right.
For the past like 4 years.
Forgot about him. Yeah.
Yeah. So and Pollard was kind of in that same mold too. I mean, when you look at his college stats, he had in basically 3 seasons 139 rushes and 104 receptions. So like, that he kind of played that role that Antonio Gibson played over the past 2 years too. And Tony Pollard is electric. He's really good behind Zeke. And I think I would love to know what Tony Pollard would look like, without Zeke, like on a team where he could kind of be a 1B to someone, like a Kenyon Drake or like a Devin Singletary. Like what could that look like? And I think if we had that and we could, fall back on kind of what Tony Pollard was, I think that would be a lot more illuminating in terms of how Gibson would be used and what he could potentially be with Washington. But, we saw flashes and stuff whenever Pollard came in for Zeke, whenever Dallas was killing people and whatnot. And so, it's kind of there, but like Washington's not Dallas. And I don't know if Gibson is Pollard or not. I really don't know. So it's the whole role and situation. Like you said, he's a home run hit, but at the 212, and I've seen people take him even in, the mid-second or early second, just because of how high they are on him. I don't know how much of a home run swing that actually is that high in rookie drafts. Like I'd much rather get him in the 3rd round if that's the case, and that's the player that you're drafting.
That's probably fair. And with my eye on this, if Washington, and just to kind of counter that a little bit, if Washington is going to, for whatever reason, truly show him the love that they're saying that they're going to, not in a CMC fashion, but if it is going to be a case that he's going to be leveraged out of the backfield, we've seen game-breaking ability from him, and the backfield's wide open for opportunity.
Right.
If he's able to cut out any sort of role specifically early in the season, I think that's going to be huge. And all of a sudden you're talking about a guy that you took at the end of the second who's giving you whatever he's going to give you out of the passing game. So if he's going to give you even low end RB2 numbers out the gate as a rookie, first of all, that would obviously mean that Geis was likely not who we hoped him to be.
Right.
Adrian Peterson's not crushing in the rushing game like you'd hope.
He's
Bryce yeah, right.
Whatever he is. Yeah.
Bryce Love is off to the side. Peyton Barber and McKissick aren't even on the team. Like, they're not going to run out 6 running backs weekly. Mm-hmm. So this guy that they took at the top of the third, I just think that there's air and opportunity for him, whether or not, like, this might be more like an Adam Dunn home run cut in that, hey, I could strike out. Like, it's a good chance I strike out here, but if I catch hold of this thing, it is going a long way. So
right,
that's my 2 cents. And like you said, with people taking them in the mid second, I'm happy to get them at the end of the second.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll move on here to the 312 here, the third round. For everybody watching, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Chase Claypool, Darrington Evans, Devin Duvernay, KJ Hamler, Anthony McFarland, Joshua Kelly, Lynn Bowden, LaMichael Pirine, Van Jefferson, and then Cole Kmet as the first tight end off the board. So 312, Tyler Johnson is there, AGG, Jordan Love at quarterback, and Jacob Eason, Adam Troutman, Eno Benjamin, DJ Dallas, Devin Asiasi, a bunch of these guys who are all there in the 4th round of the previous draft as well too. Quintez Cephas, all these tight ends too. So at the 312 here, what are we looking at to do here, JMic?
Oh man, Jordan Love. Like, period.
Easy.
Yeah, like with that question, Jordan Love, 312, first round quarterback. Obviously, you here's the thing about this though. You're likely gonna have to wait. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's not going to be you're going to be tempted to move him. You're going to be tempted to do a whole lot of different things with him, especially if you don't have either deep rosters or if it's a case where your taxi squad is rookie only. You'll be tempted to say, man, I don't see Aaron Rodgers going anywhere. I don't like this. But if you can be patient, if you're confident in the fact that they took him in the first round, which means they likely have a plan for him to succeed, mm-hmm. Then it's Jordan Love, hands down. To get him at the end of the third is theft's not even a good enough word for it. That's just that there's no way that I think that Jordan Love should be there at 312. And if he's there, you have made out like a bandit in the biggest way. But again, the patience is going to be key, because if you're someone who's not patient, then I would say Jordan Love might not be the person that you want to pick here. But you'll have to wait out the value there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you take him and you're not patient, you should not drop him. Like you need to keep him on your roster. He can't be a guy that you cut, because and Jordan Love has been a pick for a lot of people in this second draft here as well too, because he has been available this late in the third round. And, it's just, he has to see the field at some point for them to justify that first round pick. And, I just think he's a smash pick at any point to me in the third round. I'm curious on how early you would actually be willing to take Jordan Love in a super flex.
I'd be tempted to take him. I'd be tempted to take him ahead of somebody like even Gibson. If I'm thinking about it, just because I'm okay with the wait, because he was a first round pick. Mm-hmm. Like I'm really okay with that. And like you said, if he's anytime in the third round, if I see him drop to 301, I want to be able to trade up, do anything I can to get there, because I think that just it makes way too much sense to have him in that situation on your team rather than not. So I'm probably good with probably 212-ish as I look at how the board laid out here, but definitely third round we get there like you. I'm all in for sure.
All right. Yeah. So would you have taken him at 212? I feel like I didn't say Jordan Love, so maybe you didn't know that he was available.
I would have. I would have certainly considered it. I probably would have. Yeah, I would have taken him at 212 likely. I guess I was sleeping at the wheel there in terms of looking at the list too. But Gibson, I feel again, if I can, even if you flip those around, I got Love in the 212 and then Gibson at 312, then you still feel good about it. But yeah, that's an interesting spot.
Cool. So we'll just say, let's pretend that Jordan Love wasn't there. Who would your pick have been? Would you have gone to Tyler Johnson or somebody like that?
Yeah, would have been happy to get, for me, would have been happy to get Tyler Johnson. AGG I find interesting, just because I loved his film. I love what he put on film. But yeah, Tyler Johnson, AGG, someone like that would have likely been the pick.
All right, good deal. Yeah, just checking there. I feel like I didn't say Jordan Love was available at the 212s, so that one's on me there. So 412 here, last pick of this draft and last pick of the show overall. We're looking at a major dart throw here. Rest of the third round went Eno, Benjamin, AGG, Gabriel Davis, DJ Dallas, Tyler Johnson, Adam Troutman, Dalton King, Jacob Eason, Bryson Hopkins, Jake Fromm, and then Devin Asiasi. So at the 412, we're looking at, Quintez Cephas is there as well, too. Albert O, Anthony Gordon at quarterback, and a bunch of all these quarterbacks here. Harrison Bryant, Colin Johnson, KJ Hill, James Prochet, Hunter Bryant, Isaiah Hodgins, Thaddeus Moss, Michael Warren, a bunch of these kind of late round NFL draft dart throws here. So at the 412, who are we looking to close out this draft with?
It would feel super boring if I go Quintez Cephas again to close, but that's where I'd be going, man. Quintez Cephas is the pick there at 312. If I have to pick someone different, or if it was a case where who's others receiving votes, if you will,
right.
Harrison Bryant, the tight end out of FAU, the Mackey Award winner. I like obviously what Stefanski is able to continue to do with tight ends in his offense and how he leverages them. Now, obviously, again, with our rookie tight ends, and especially someone that we're taking in the fourth round, we're playing the patient game. We're playing the waiting game. But someone who was as prolific as he was in college, I really like the upside that he brings to an offense like that. And if they move on from Njoku and or Hooper in the next couple of seasons, you're looking at Harrison Bryant being ready to step in and be a contributor for Baker Mayfield-led offense. So I like Harrison Bryant there too.
Alrighty, yeah. I figured once I saw Quintez Cephas was there, I was like, that's the pick.
Yeah.
Easy enough. Alrighty, so that was, I like both of these drafts overall. This one with Jefferson, Gibson, Love, and then Cephas, and then the one prior where, we got the opportunity to talk about DeAndre Swift and Denzel Mims as well, too. Which actually was kind of funny that's how the team went here at the 103 and 203. So the computer was listening to you. And Darrington Evans. That was the first three.
That's creepy.
That's crazy. Oh man. So that is the end of both of those 4-round rookie mocks, and that is actually the end of every single pick that I have done with this series post draft from 101 to the 112 with 6 different guests. So JMic, I thank you so much for jumping on with me and letting me have the opportunity to talk with you about some of these rookies, go through, some of your personal strategy, your personal evaluations on all these guys, and just have, to me, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to talk about new people that I hadn't had the opportunity to talk about with, some of the other guests just because of how the draft board went and your personal picks. So thank you so much for hopping on with me. And so let the people know where they can find you, stuff that you're working on, all the projects and everything. Let the people out there know what you're doing.
Pleasure's all mine, Addison. Thank you for the time, man, and the discussion. This was too much fun. This is how everyone I feel like should spend their Sunday afternoon. So yeah, obviously I'm on Twitter at JMicCheck, at JMICCheck. You can see me on Tuesday nights for the YouTube show / podcast, the Open Bar Podcast with my main man Gabe Gearing, also on Twitter at FFManBun. The show's handle is at the Open Bar Pod. We come in, we talk with a bunch of other guests, talk life, talk shop, talk whatever's going on, fantasy related, anything, just like if you were pulled up at a table at a bar, chopping it up with your friends. So we enjoy that on Tuesday nights live. I also have the Dummy Blitz that I do over with the folks at the Dynasty Dummies, the DFPN network, and thankful to be able to do things for them with the Dummy Blitz. And usually that's more kicked off during the season to be able to give quick synopsis of what's going on, the comings and goings of the league, 15 and out is what we call it, just to be able to have fun with that. And then lastly, JMic's Journal, which is just my therapy, if you will. It's just my ability to get on a podcast and legitimately read what I'm able to write in a journal to be able to help process a lot of my hurts, a lot of things that have given me trouble over the last year plus. And to be able to share that with other people, to let them know, hey, you're not alone in your struggles. You're not alone in your fears, the things that you feel like are holding you back. We're a lot closer than you think. So one of the things I often say with that is it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for everyone. So I encourage you all to check that out too. So yeah, podcasting all over the place and just trying to be able to help keep people encouraged in a really hard time right now in life. So yeah, that's me. And again, thank you, Addison, for the opportunity, man. I very much appreciate it, and I'm grateful for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Make sure everybody watching this, please go hit up JMic on everything, Twitter, listen to JMic's journal as well, too, the open bar, all that stuff. It's fantastic content. Gabe's hilarious as well, too. I want to have him on here just because he's so funny, and hopefully the new baby doesn't totally wreck his fantasy schedule. But I was happy to see that, and I'm very excited for their family welcoming in the new baby. So that was some awesome news on Twitter recently. But I want to get him on and talk some stuff with him too, because he's just so entertaining. Maybe he'll rap something for me.
Oh man, and he is so stinking smart too, man. I'm telling you, he's sharp.
Yeah. So lot of potential guests as we move on into the rest of the summer here. So just for everybody watching, my plan is for at least this show is to start doing some Dynasty startups here using the Fantasy Pros mock draft simulator. And then eventually, as we move into more of a redraft season, to do some redraft stuff and get actual redraft analysts. I'm thinking about grabbing a couple of the fantasy footballers on here to talk some redraft stuff with them. So a lot of amazing content coming from this Drafting Lessons TV show that I wanted to share with you guys to let you guys know what's going on as we move forward into the summer. So make sure, if you are not subscribed already, please subscribe, ring that notifications bell, all that stuff to be notified every time a video from DLF drops, either this video, the mailbag video with Chris and Adam, the ADP show with Ryan and Dan. We got some more content coming in here. I know just recently, whenever you're watching this, a Versus TV show just got dropped, and the first episode of that was Michelle Majuk versus Drake Pugh. That was Calvin Ridley versus DJ Chark. That was a fantastic episode. It was really fun to record. So if you haven't already, go check that one out, and subscribe, ring the notifications bell, like this video, and leave a comment down below as well too, to let JMic know if you disagree, agree with any of his picks, any of that good stuff. So with all that being said, we will catch you guys later.